don't forget to subscribe for more reviews. Please also like. Thank you!
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to continue our build of the, what is this thing? The Death Stinger. We're looking at stage 2, and there are multiple steps on it, so this will probably be its own video. We begin by looking at part J1, which is part of the body. We're going to build the body today, and we have multiple pieces here. These all come off of the M sprue, and I imagine when I'm done with this there's not going to be anything left on the sprue. There's a lot that's going on here. Basically what we do is we take this part here, and the one I'm showing you is part M24, and we take part M6 and we put it in here with the little pin right here facing inside the part. So it's got to come in and connect here like this. Now it's important to ensure the fact that the little pin is underneath it, because the little pin has to hook into this little hole right here. It's the only way it can do it is if it's under it. Get in there. Now, I don't intend to make you all suffer through watching all this. What I will do is, as you can see, struggle with this first one, and then through the magic of editing I will make it work. See, it just doesn't want to go in there, but it has to go in there that way so that it will connect to it. You can't put it like this because, remember, right here's your little hole, right? This fits in here like this. This has to go in here like this. It has to. So maybe there's a better way of doing this, and I just haven't figured it out yet. I'll play around with it. I will get this thing to work. Famous last words, right? Alright, but yeah, I mean, I guess maybe I could do it this way and turn it around. Hey, look at that. Alright, so now it's on there. So now it's just a matter of putting this piece in here, getting it lined up properly there. And that's what that one looks like when it's completed, and it can lift up and do whatever. I'll go ahead and I'll knock the rest of these out and just spare you the time of seeing me struggle. Alright, so I have gotten it all put together here, and they all open the way that they're supposed to. I have to tell you, this was just straight up exhaustive. So I'm going to have to take a break. This took me probably 30-35 minutes to do this. So just be mindful. So for step 2.2, we're going to be using piece 015, which is this one, 011, which is this one, and H7, which is this one. And basically what we do is we turn this up, and we put this in here. I'm not 100% sure if this is the correct way for this, but it doesn't look like it has a difference. So we just connect everything together, and hopefully give it a good squeeze. Hopefully that'll work. Now, for stage 2-3, we take these parts here, which are H1s, and there's 2 of them, and they're on 2 separate sprues, so just be mindful of that. The directions aren't really clear exactly which way these are supposed to go, so I am hoping this is correct. If it's not, I might have to take it apart and redo it, but I believe, based around what the instructions show, this should be the way it works. Here. Oh, look at that bleeding. Isn't that fun? Alright. So, that represents stage 2-2 and 2-3, or section 2-2-2-3. Now for stage 2-4, we're going to be combining these pieces here with the part that we already worked on previously. This part here is part L7, and based around the way that it looks on the sheet here, it's going to go up just like this and fit in right here. Is that right? No, I am sorry. We will not be using this piece. We'll be using this piece, which is J2. Yeah, so I need to cut this piece off the sprue. And I know I haven't really done a lot of that on camera, but it might be good for you all to see this in action at least once. Okay, so that piece is now, that sprue is now dead. One of the ways that I cut my thumb is I am shaving the pieces so that they are equal and even here. And I was taught not to draw my knife to me, but I haven't really found a better way of doing it. As a result, well, you saw I was bleeding a little bit on the other, and it's opened back up. It'll be alright. Trim this down here. Trim this down here. And I think the last one we have to trim is this one. Here, just like this. Now it's important to trim these. It's important to trim these areas so that you know that they're being done properly and that everything will fit right. Now, so this is part, what is this? J2. And based on the directions, let me back out just a tinch. Based on the directions, we're looking at it in this way. So this is going to come up and it's going to fit into these pegs right here like this. And these right here, these parts are H4. Looking at it, it looks like the smaller... Oh, okay. I don't know if you all can see this or not, but there is a little extension here that is going to go into this little hole. So this is going to slide in just like this, right here. And each one of these is going to do the same thing. And this is another example of if you haven't trimmed these, they won't fit right. And then this is going to come in and there's grooves here to go with those. So everything should line up properly. We push it into place just like this. And when it's done right, it should look like this. And that is the end of step 2-4. When next we come back, we're going to be working on this other piece. We're going to flip it over and we're going to fill in these sections with part T1. So for stage 2-5, we're just going to take, these are T1s right here, and there's 8 of them. And basically all we do is we just put them in here, like this. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this is the correct way, but I think it is. We'll find out for sure. I may just jump right into into the next one, which will be 2-6 after this, step 2-6. Primarily, basically all we're doing is connecting these together, the 3 pieces that we've worked on so far. So I may very well end up doing that. I tell you what, I am not going to go crazy trying to get these things in right now. I'm going to try to get them as much into place as I can, but I'm also not going to go too horribly crazy with it, because when I squeeze it together, it should assist somewhat with their placement, at least theoretically. Let's see. Slow and tedious work, but necessary. Alright, so that is step 2-5. For step 2-6, we bring in this piece that we've done previously, and they have this right here. We have this piece coming in, I believe it's right here. See, and herein lies my question. Because if you look at it, it looks like it would go like this. Tell you what, I wasn't sure about this, if you all remember. I'm going to take this off here. I should be able to, theoretically. Yeah, it'll come. Alright. So since we know that this piece is going to go in here, how does it go? It won't sit like that, but it's got that groove to it, as if it should. Alright, so this piece is going to end up going in like this. Now, the way that this looks, it shows this standing up like this. Okay, which would mean that this piece has got to go on here like this to go properly. Alright, can you all see the difference here? And this means that this one needs to come off as well and be basically just rotated around so that it's like this, and bring that in like that. This will hopefully allow us to get these into here. Press that down, and that should look like this at this point. Now we take, let's see, this is like this, this is like this. According to the directions, this should come in like this, making particular care to line up my things here. Alright, and now it should just be a matter of squeezing it together. Yeah, they're all in there. I may have to apply a few pounds of pressure to it to get it to work. But it is going. Yep. Just like this right here. Alright. Tell you what, I might sit on it or something to make it go a little bit cleaner, to try and get the line together. The problem is these bits right here on the T1s, they have to go up and in and they're intentionally resistant. So I'll sit on it or something and see if I can get rid of this line that I have. Should be able to. We'll see. So to continue working on stage 2-6, we have these little pieces here which are D1 and D2, and we have these little pieces here which are D24 and D25, and they have holes and pins in them. And basically what we do is we have to come in here and figure out exactly how they go. Now the directions aren't the, sad to say, greatest on this, but if I saw it correctly, if I'm looking at it right, this one's going to go in here some way like this, and this one's going to come around and come up sort of like that. So this is going to be a very delicate and tricky thing for me to pull off. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the camera, and I'll show you what it looks like afterwards, because I imagine it's going to be a bear. So I was completely correct. This was a bear. I have intentionally not added this piece so you all can see what's going on here. The directions leave much to be desired. So as you can see, the smaller piece, this is piece D1 here, goes in just like this, and it goes against what you would think it would. You'd think the cut piece would go into this here, and it doesn't. This has a notch on it to go underneath, and they come in just like this. So if for no other reason than just this video is worthwhile, because the directions don't show this very clearly. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to install this one, and then we will move on to section 2, part 7. So section 2.7, we use part D right here, which is translucence D28, and we have 2 of these S3s. So what we do, we bring our part back out, and this is just going to sit right in here, just hopefully like this. Come on now. It's going to sit in the middle and look like this. And then we bring in our D parts, and they have pegs on them. I don't know if y'all can see that. And they're just going to go in, and hopefully they'll go in. They're supposed to. It shouldn't matter. They're from the same peg area, so it really shouldn't matter if you do one for one or one for the other. They should just go right in here. Yeah, they should. Alright, let's... Oh, snapped it right in, just like that. Let's do this other one here. And the same thing with it. Or at least we will hopefully do the same thing with it. Alright, one more try and I'm going to do it off camera. I don't think it's lined up right. That's because it's not. Okay. And that represents stage, this part of stage 2.7. Next we're going to be adding a bunch of, looks like parts from D and V. Continuing step 2.7, we take this part here, which is V6, we take this part, which is D12, and that will go in here right like this, like that. And then the other part that we have is D32, and this is going to be assembled just the way you see right here. A series of holes, series of pegs. Just drop it in place, and then we kind of squeeze it where it's supposed to go so everything lines up. The last thing we do is we take this piece here, pegs down, and we just install it. And that's where we are so far. Now the next part of this step is going to deal with parts from sprue V and parts from sprue E. So to finish up section 2.7 is a pain. We have this piece right here, which is E11, and then we have V13 right here. We have V16 right here. I'm sorry, this is V18, V16, and then V14. And it took me a considerable amount of time to figure out how to get all these in place. It's not so much difficult, you know, getting that one in. You just put it in like that. The difficulty comes with these very little pieces, and the fact that the directions are, well, I mean, I have pictures for directions. Normally that's not a problem, but when it comes to something like this, that is this complex and this specific, dealing with little bitty parts, it can be, what's the word I'm searching for? Frustrating. Look, we don't do these things necessarily to be frustrated. We might, you know, enjoy a challenge, and I'm all up for a challenge like that. But these little itty bitty parts, I don't have quite the dexterity I once did, so they can be more than a little bit challenging to someone such as myself. And that's okay, because I do enjoy a challenge, but it is problematic when they don't want to go properly. And this is one of those things where it's just not happy. Now this piece right here has a slot in it. I don't know if it'll focus for me. You see that slot right there? That slot goes into this little spot right here, theoretically. It just goes in there. And that's how you do that one. Now this one right here, this last one, this is part V15. Drove me crazy because I couldn't get my tweezers on it properly so that I could get it in there. It is possible. Crap. Sorry about the cut. It just flew right out of my tweezers and over my shoulder, and it took me a moment to get the part back. So, come back here. This is arguably the most frustrating piece so far that I have worked with on this. And the issue isn't that it's a complex piece. It's just one of those really, really small pieces that you don't have a lot of clearance for, and it just doesn't want to do what it's supposed to do. And if you get it in there, it's kind of a surprise. Alright, I'm going to try it one more time, and then I'm going to cut and fuss with it. I think I may have gotten it. I might not have. Nope. Oh, there, I got it. Didn't I? Nope. Alright, cutting, and I'll show you what it looks like at the end. Of course, I got it immediately after turning off the camera, but that's okay, because that's what we're looking at so far, and it looks very nice. This concludes step 2.7. So for section 2.8, we're going to be using part U6. This is D26 and 27, and they're supposed to just combine together. I don't see any particular way, that it would go, so I guess it just kind of goes however you decide to put it in there, like that. Makes a little ball. Then we have part E5 and part, get back here, and part E12. Now, we bring in our big old chunk of thing here, back out just a tinch, and we know this is going to go in the center here because it's got a hole. I don't know if you all can see it or not right there. I also do not know if there's a way that the spikes are supposed to go. I guess we'll find that out. Now this thing right here is going to come in, and it's got a peg right here and the slot for it. And then it's got two pegs right here that are going to go in right here. So this should come down and fit in just like this right here, so that we get this look. Now all we have are these pieces right here. If I was a betting man, I would say this one goes right here just like this, which leaves this piece right here, which I'm betting goes right here, I'm guessing. And that would be correct. So we have a really pretty thing going on right here so far. Yeah, this is really nice. Alright, so we're going to move on to stage 2.9, and it looks like we're starting a brand new thing with K5 as the body. So for step 2.9, we begin with part K5, which is this big thing right here. We have W14, W13. We have, this one is I18, I19 is right here, and this is I17. Lastly, we have V2 and V1. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put one side on so you can see how it looks. Alright, so I've got one side of it done. I created this thing right here, put these down, and put this right here. This was a little challenging, but only until I figured out exactly how it went. Actually, if I'm being honest, the most challenging part was this little gun here, which I'm going to try and do, because my fingers just wouldn't, they weren't happy trying to manipulate it. As you can see, I'm not the greatest with this little bitty stuff. There we go. Oh, no, there we don't go. Alright. So we got a little peg. There's a little hole. Go to your home, man. Just go to your home like you're supposed to. Like that. That was the most challenging part I have discovered of this. This thing right here has pegs that line up with the holes. It just drops in there like that. And that one's done. Now this part right here, pardon me, is a little bit more challenging. And you want to probably hook the one with the bigger end in first. Take your little piece here and slot it in there like that. Then you take the cap piece. I'm sorry, I thought I had gotten the flash off this one. I guess maybe I hadn't. I have discovered, if I haven't already mentioned this, you have got to take the time to take the flash off these. Otherwise they don't work. Some things you can get away with without taking the flash off. This is most definitively not one of those things. So, get it on here. Find some way to hold it in place somehow, and just connect them up. This shouldn't be this hard. But of course, any reviewer will tell you, as soon as that camera comes on, easy goes out the window. It also doesn't help that my dexterity is not the greatest. But there it is. That represents stage 2-9. So steps 2-11 through 15 are exactly the same. The only thing that changes is this. This part comes from the C sprue, and it's C1, 2, 13, 10, 9, and 14. And what we do is we take one of these pieces that came off of D1, and it will just plug in here like this on both sides, just like this. And this represents the entirety of, like I said, 2-11 through 15. So I am going to go ahead and do those off camera and just have them done. Again, there's nothing that changes except for this piece right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And here's what all 5 of them look like, all assembled with the pieces on them, the translucent pieces. So now we'll move on to step 216. So stages 216 and 217 are the same, they're just mirrored from each other. This is part C27, and this comes off a sprue that's just labeled G. They go together right like that and make that right there. Now this is part C26, and this is C28. This should come together just like this right here, and it looks like this will clamp on here like this, and that will come in like that. Now this will move up and down. I cut it off the sprue rough, that's why that looks like that. This represents stage 216. I'll go ahead and mirror this for 217, and we'll move on to stage 218. So for 218, we cut these parts off your sprue, which are C21 and C213. And we bring back in this part we worked on, K5, from step 2-9. Basically all we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to put it in here like this. Now there are tracks here, and I don't know exactly if it will go up or down or back or forward. And I'm also looking at the picture. It looks like this is correct the way I have it here, so here's hoping. And this just comes in, and see, that one will move up and cover down, and so will that one. Okay, so yeah, that's what those look like. Let's go ahead. The next part of 18 involves apparently these things right here that we already made. And if I'm looking at it correctly, it looks like they just come in and tab in like this. if I'm looking at it correctly. That one's a bit longer. It might have someplace special to go. Let me zoom out just a tinge here. Am I missing one? This one should go right here, I would think. Oh, maybe this one goes like this. No. This one goes here. There were just 5 of them, but now the thing shows 6, so it's possible that I've missed one. Bear with me just a minute and I'll see if I can find it. I was indeed correct. There was a 6th one, I just missed it. And we'll go ahead and put it in here like this. Bend all these down. I gotta tell you, this one here worries me a little bit. The connection's not the greatest. I really hope we have something that covers here this one. But this is where we are, and this completes stage 218. So for stage 219, I've gone ahead and we put on this piece on both sides. We're doing a lot of mirroring. This piece is B12, this is B113. Basically we just line this up here and it'll clip into place just the way you would hope it would, which still leaves you access to these as needed, although the guns are pointed in the backwards position, but that's neither here nor there. And then we take this part we did with stage 217 and stage 216, and they just clip on here like this to make this, which works very well. So the final step in 219 is to put on these covers and this translucent piece right here. This cover, this translucent piece. The translucent pieces are D14 and D13, and they just come in right here, just plug right in, kind of like it was made for it, because it was. This is A2 and A5, these two pieces respectively, and they just come in, they clip in here to this nubbin, and then they just fold over to make that, and that works very well, looks very nice. So for steps 220 and 221, they're mirrors of each other. We take piece W15 and W16, that they're mirrored. We take parts I6, and there's 4 of these, and then you take this part here, which is H1, and there's a bunch of those too. And what you do, you back out just a tinge. You take this H1 piece and you put it here in this square, just drop it in there, and it'll go right like that. Then you take these pieces and you connect the port to the pin, the port to the pin. Give it a little squeeze, and there you go, and you get 2 that look exactly the same. And that's step 220 and 221. So step 222 is basically an assembly step. We take these pieces that we just made, and they will come in and plug into this big piece here, just right here. They'll just go right on, just like this. Right here. And these pieces are actually going to plug into, stand up there, this piece right here. These are going to pair up with this. Let me see if I can do this here on camera. I don't know if I can or not. It appears that, don't speak too soon, Tom. Tell you what, let's do one at a time here. See if I can get it to pair up properly. Oh boy. So an essential part of this is going to be to make sure that your bits here are lined up properly so that they will go in evenly, he says. Come on now. I may have to fight with this off camera. Anyway, it's supposed to go in like this so that this will cover this up. So give me a minute, let me see if I can get this in off camera. So I was able to get it. The easiest way I found to do it was to disconnect it from up here and hook these in first and then just reconnect them up there. And this thing comes down. I'm not entirely sure if it goes like this, but I would think so. But we'll find out for sure here in a while. I do know that, oh crud, looking at it, if I didn't know better, I'd say I had it backwards according to the picture. Let's see, would it look better like this, maybe? Let's find out. Good news is, if you aren't sure, you can take it apart. Actually, that looks a lot better. That may very well be the way it's supposed to go. Alright, let me reconnect this piece here, and we will move on to stage 223. So for stage 2, step 23, we're going to take this main part, which is L3 right here, and we're going to basically flip it over and turn this bit towards us. This part right here is L10, and it is angled in such a way that it will come in here and set in these holes here and just kind of snap in place. I don't believe there's a correct, left, up or down, top or bottom to this. If there is, I'm sure we'll figure it out. Next, we take one of these. This is W4 or W3, it's one of the two. Take a look at it and just make sure it's angled properly. And it's just going to go in just like this on both sides here. Just like that. And the last thing we need to do right here is we take these parts here, and these come off of two separate C as in Charlie screws. This is part 5 and 6, C5, C6. You just kind of squeeze them together here, and they go in right like that. Again, squeeze together and put them in like this. Now, I have angled these in. I do not know if that is correct. We will find out. The next part of this step is we have two of these H4 pieces. H4 right here. They just come in, and they set in just like this. Right here. And there is a spot for the larger depression, as you can see. It goes with the larger pin in the part. Theoretically it goes in there. There we go. Snapped right in. And the last bit we have is H6 here. This goes in right here. Goes in right there. And I hope I have that right. Now, there is one other thing we need to do before we wrap this up. And we need to take our H sprue, and we need to get H2 off of it. Not H2O, just H2, which is this one right here. As always, I strongly recommend that you take a moment and you clean your part of any residual sprue maybe on there. This is H2, and it's supposed to go in here some way. No. Alright, well, regardless, the final bit is this piece, which is L2, and it's just going to come over and cap here. Now, somehow or another, this thing right here comes in. Maybe like that. That might work. And it would explain why I couldn't find a corresponding one down here. Alright. So this is going to come in and just marry up with everything the way you would imagine it would. And you got to make sure that this thing right here is where it needs to be. There we go. Okay. Squeeze it real well. And here, this represents the conclusion of stage 2, step 23. So stage 2, step 24 basically has two or three different stages, and I've gone ahead and I have completed one side of the assembly here with the various different parts that we're going to need. So this is part D21. This is part W1. This is part W19, and the gold part is E17. So basically, assembling this is really simple. We take this part here, marry them together, and then pegs and ports. You just maneuver it until it's in place, just like that. And then you take this one right here, drop it into place, and once it's in there, take your spudger or whatever it is that you're using, press it down. And the hardest part of this is, as usual, the D-translucent part, and it's primarily just lining it up properly so that it goes in where it's supposed to. And one of them in. There we go. And that represents the assembly stage of 24. There's just one last thing to do in this stage, and that is to take this out and hook this in here, and it shows it going in with this part up, and here's hoping that works right. So that is what it is going to look like. Another stage done. Pretty decent. So far I have spent about 3 hours on this particular stage, which better than an hour on the last one. That makes us about 4 hours so far, and let me tell you, I feel it. I'm feeling it right now. So in stage 3, it looks like we're building part of the stinger tail, and I think stage 4 we begin the legs. So with that in mind, I'm going to end this video here, and we will pick up with stage 3.
Thank you for watching my Papa's channel. Please subscribe and like. Thank you.